Okay guys, welcome back to another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the recent fight announcement of Moses Itauma versus Dillian Whyte. Now, immediately, we're going to be looking at Moses Itauma as the clear winner for this fight. He's the younger, more physical, fresher guy. He's got the momentum behind him. And we'll be looking to walk through Dillian Whyte the same way Moses Itauma has walked through everyone else. There's a ton of hype around him. He's young, British, he's big, he's powerful, he's knocking guys out, but he's never fought anyone on the level of Dillian Whyte. Now, Dillian Whyte has been in there with, arguably, nearly the who's who of the heavyweight division. There's a few guys he hasn't fought, the Usyks, the Deontay Wilders, the Daniel Dubois, but he's fought the Tyson Furies, the Joseph Parkers, the Derek Chisoras, the Povetkins. He's fought a lot of the top names in the heavyweight division, right? And he's not always beat them. To be fair to him, he's lost to Parker, he's lost to Fury, he lost to Povetkin. He's lost some fights, he has. And he's never been a world champion. But that level of experience, being under those lights, being in those 12 rounders, it's got to count for something. That being said, in Dillian Whyte's most recent performances, the stoppage of Tyson Fury and the fights that came after that, he looks a lot slower. He looks older. He looks like he can't take a shot the same way he could. He got knocked. He didn't get knocked dead by Tyson Fury, but he got put on his ass badly by Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury's not the biggest of punchers, right? Now it was a beautiful uppercut that he got caught with, but still, even since then, Dillian Whyte's not been, like I said, not super sharp. He's lost a lot of speed. He hasn't lost the power though. That like they always say, particularly at heavyweights, power's the last thing to go. So if Moses Itauma is planning on applying pressure and trying to force a battle out of Dillian Whyte, you could come unstuck because Dillian Whyte can still bang. He's not as quick, but he's still as powerful. Right, and we don't know what Moses Itauma's chin looks like. Like, Dillian Whyte would likely have, up to this point, will be the biggest puncher Moses Itauma has fought. But that being said, Dillian Whyte, like I said, he's lost a lot of speed. So will he even be able to land those big punches? I don't know. Because Moses Itauma, from what I'm hearing, Moses is a student of the game. He's a sponge for knowledge. He's always, from what we're hearing from interviews from his coaches and everything, this guy seems to be addicted to the sport of boxing. And when you've got that sort of mind and you're spending that sort of hours outside of the ring learning the sport, that's what's so important. What I think a lot of boxers forget about, what a lot of fans forget about as well is, yeah, you can train, you can hit pads in the gym, you can run, you can do cardio, but you need to watch the sport too. You need to get your eyes on the sport, right? And Moses Itauma, from what we hear, is knee-deep in that, heavy on that, right? So you've got a young Moses Itauma who probably, at this point, is the bigger puncher, far quicker, far younger, far fresher, against a Dillian Whyte who's been through a number of wars, who's getting old, who's been stopped a few times. All logic suggests that Moses Itauma wins this fight, and he wins it in potentially a very devastating fashion. And immediately that would be what my prediction would be. But like I said, Dillian Whyte's experience has got to count for something. And also some would say Moses Itauma's lack of experience, they say ignorance is bliss, right? Where if Moses Itauma goes into this fight thinking he can stop Dillian Whyte inside 4 rounds. And if he boxes like that, he very well could. He very well could go into that ring, put it on Dillian Whyte and get an early stoppage. He very much could. But what happens if Dillian Whyte stays in the fight? Let's say Dillian Whyte's instincts and defensive instincts are still there and he stays in the fight. And then now we're in the 6th, 7th, 8th round, 9th round, 10th round. You're in championship territory where Dillian Whyte's been in for years now. Where Moses Itauma hasn't necessarily been at that sort of level. It's got to count for something. Right, it's got to count for something. I don't think Dillian Whyte is the type of boxer to really outbox Moses Itauma, which is a benefit to Moses Itauma because it means Dillian Whyte, for the most part, he's just going to try and force exchanges and force those sort of battles in the mid-range and a slugfest, basically. And if you're forcing a slugfest against a guy who's fresher, younger, and faster than you, the odds aren't going to be in your favour. But Dillian Whyte only really fights one style of boxing, really, at this point. He's only really got one style of boxing. That being said, also, it really is do or die for Dillian Whyte. If Dillian Whyte loses this fight, then he probably has to retire. Because there's no real half decent fights for him left at heavyweight. No big paydays. The AJ fight, even now the AJ fight isn't a huge fight anymore. It's not. But if he loses to Moses Itauma, then it really isn't, right? Which is almost why I was a bit shocked that Dillian Whyte even took this fight, because it's a very high risk. For not a huge... it is a big reward. If Dillian Whyte is the first guy to hand Moses Itauma his first loss, and this guy is, a heavyweight prospect, if Dillian Whyte can win this fight, then, to be fair, he probably does get himself an AJ fight off the back of that. So there is a big risk, big reward for this. But if Moses just runs through Dillian Whyte, then that's probably it for him. And really, I would have wanted to see Derek Chisora v Dillian Whyte. And to be honest, that should be both of their last fights. Honestly, win or lose, both guys should retire. But that fight doesn't look like that's going to happen yet. Because Derek Chisora has got some other fight news, which I'll probably address in another video. But yeah, I'm going to go with Moses for this. I think Moses is, like I said, too young, too fresh, too fast to lose to a guy like Dillian Whyte at this point in Dillian Whyte's career. Now, Dillian Whyte, like I said, he's getting on. He's been in a lot of wars. He's taken a lot of big shots. And all of that is going to come to a boiling point when he fights Moses Itauma, because Moses Itauma, no doubt, is going to come to bang. And when Moses lands on that chin of Dillian Whyte, it could be a short night for Dillian Whyte. But yeah, we'll see. I no doubt there'll be some more drama coming up to that fight. But yeah, we'll see what's next. Who do you think is going to win that fight? Do you think Moses is going to win it? Or do you think Dillian Whyte could potentially turn back the clock and win this fight? Let me know in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.